guys decided to get married, what was the first 2 years or 3 years of your marriage? Like, what did that look like? What kind of things did you go through in those periods? Because they say that, the first couple of years are like literally the adjusting period of, of your marriage, basically getting to relate on a different level, on a deeper level. So what did that look like for you in the first couple of years of your marriage? And obviously you have a child as well. So yeah.
Wasn't good.
Ooh, okay. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the not good. Like what happened?
So
brutally.
For me, I honestly don't believe that I gave it. I think I like the idea of being married or having a wedding.
Wow.
But had no understanding at all of what it actually meant to be married. Because I was actually seeing someone else while I was pregnant with my oldest son.
So with Samuel's son, basically.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was seeing someone else then. And I actually did not stop seeing him even after my son was born, even after we got married. He was still considered a girl, close your mouth.
Just like, wait, but I'm like thinking, wait a minute. You're now married, but yet you're still seeing someone outside of your marriage. And
yep.
Like, that's hella crazy. That's like having an open relationship, stroke affair kind of thing. In other words.
But I mean, as far as he wasn't aware of it, that it was so, I was still seeing this person like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So for you, Sam, how do you feel the first sort of like years, the first couple of years of marriage? Like, what was that like for you, before you found out Brendell's other side, her side man, if you would put it in other words? How were you adjusting to the first couple of years of marriage before finding out?
Headaches. Not good. I was hurt. I was trying to keep everything together, but I was hurt because growing up in my family, my mom was the only woman that dad had, and that's all I wanted, was to have just one woman, one marriage. And I was falling apart. It's like, wow, you hurt me for those first couple of years. Yeah.
And I guess because of the way your relationship with your mom and your dad, for you, was that a template of what a marriage and a relationship look like? And then what was it about their relationship that was like, I want to emulate this more? So like, yeah, what was it about their relationship?
Well, they were both brought up in the church, and they was always in the church, and that's all I knew. And I just wanted to do the same with my wife, I wanted my marriage to be like that too. Okay. Circumstances.
Yes, circumstances indeed. So for you, Brendell, so now you guys are doing this. Like, did you argue a lot? Was there like a lot of arguments? Was there like, any kind of like emotional like trauma like between the both of you? Like, what kind of exchanges were there between the both of you?
No, he's not an argumentative person at all. So even now, I mean, he's not that type of person that's going to be shouting, and he's not an aggressive person. He doesn't, he's not. It's very passive, actually.
Because I never saw that in my mom and dad's marriage. I never ever heard them arguing, hitting off each other and all like that type of stuff. So I didn't want that in my, I didn't want that. So I don't like arguing. No.
Like, no, it's not of me at all. Did you ever ask your parents, like, did they argue? And if they did, like, what do they do? Did they?
Maybe they did, but after all the kids were asleep, my dad had 6 kids. So Maybe when we go oversleep, they might argue close to do it. But we always talk about it nowadays. We never heard of mom and dad arguing, fussing and fighting.
And do you think that's a good thing? Because I know for me, I only ever saw my parents or my dad angry like at my mom once, and that was just very out of the blue, but in terms of if they ever argued or had any kind of disagreements, it was never in front of us. We would never know, and neither would we hear it. But she said that they did, but they just didn't do it in front of me whatsoever. So for you, do you think that was a good thing, so that you didn't see that and you just saw the happy side of stuff? Or do you think it would have been good for you to experience a little bit of the argument, so that you kind of know not what,
I don't like that.
definitely not what you
Even I heard people arguing, I don't like it at all.
Switch up. Okay. So now that you guys are you're a couple of years into this marriage, when did you then find out about Brendell's, this guy that she was talking to? Did she come to you about it, or did you find out?
People were telling me what's going on, and I just kind of, played it off well, I didn't know. So I had to find out by, we did counseling or something. I think we went to counseling, and you went to counseling first to him, Nelson. And he must have told her to bring your husband next time you come. And he asked me, what do you think is going on? And I told him, and I remember him saying to her, you better take your husband home and tell him, because and I think that's how I really found out. She took me home and she told me everything. And so all what people were telling me was right.
Yeah. So I guess it's better. Did you think it was better for her to have told you? Because if you had, although people were telling you, you were hearing stories, but did you appreciate her telling you rather than,
Of course, yeah.
The other way? Because that could hurt. So then when she told you, how did you feel? Because obviously when men, when men go through some type of, I guess, heartbreak or something.
I cried. Like I said, I wanted my marriage to be like mom and dad's marriage. And when it broke down like that, it was like, oh my God, it hurt. It hurt.
So how did you then begin so Brendell, actually, when you told him, how did that make you feel? And what even led you? Would you have even told him if there wasn't anybody, if they hadn't been telling him? And did you know people were telling him?
I don't think I cared. So he will probably get into this a bit later, but he said the person that I was then is definitely not the person that I am now. But I really didn't think I cared whether or not he was bothered by the relationship or not. At the time, I wasn't too sure. Even when we married, the guy that I was dating, I asked him first. And I said, listen, this is what has been brought to me. This guy wants to marry me. What do you think I should do? Should I marry him, or should I just wait for you to decide what you want to do? And the guy said to me, well, I'm going to be going home. And that was my answer for me. And I felt like, okay, well, let me go and marry Sam, because at least with Sam, I knew that there was security. So it wasn't, at that time, I loved him, but I wasn't in love with him.
Right.
He was my first, he was the father of my child, but it wasn't like I was in love with him like how I was at the beginning. And so I was in love with the guy that I was seeing. And so when Sam found out, even when he found out, for me, it was like, okay, I told you, but I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. And it wasn't too many years after that, then we actually got the divorce, because I continued to see this guy.
Wow. So how long did the marriage last for? How many years exactly did the marriage last for? 5 years.
Was it 5 years or about 2? We were apart.
No, so we actually, we dated for 7 years, and we were only married for 5 years. We were married in 1990. Yeah, because Sammy was born in 1989. So we married in 1990 and we divorced in 1995.
Yeah, but didn't we?
But we did separate.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we
So
separated.
basically, the marriage was stuff like about
probably
2 years.
maybe about 2 years that we were really married.
And 3 years separated.
And 3 years separated.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I guess within that separation, you were still carrying on with the other guy.
Carrying on with other guys.
Oh, the guys. Wow. Okay. So
it was bad.
So for you, so I'm doing the separation and then leading up to the divorce. What were you going through? Like, I want to hear from your side, like, your perspective, like your feelings and your emotions at the time, like how it made you feel, like as a man, like, you know, you're now separated from your wife, you still got a child, you know, and like, did you feel any type of like disappointment, shame, all that kind of stuff?
Like I said, I was disappointed because that finished. And again, I wanted my marriage to be like mom and dad's, you know. But what could I do? I mean, like I said, I was hurt.
And we tried to get counseling, but I think I was quite deceitful even in the counseling. I was yeah, I knew there was times when he got angry. I mean, he was doing things that was like really out of character. Like he would be following me and turning up in different places and totally out of character for him. So it was really crazy at some points. But yeah, we ended up getting a divorce like 5 years later.
So Brendell, what did your parents say about it? And then Samuel, I'm going to ask you as well. What did your parents say about the whole situation? Brendell first.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
See, I think what you.
How?
I think her mom was kind of helping her with the other guy.
Yeah, because like you have to understand the culture. It's not like how we don't have this. So I was actually sharing it with some friends the other day. The culture is so different, and I wouldn't even say it's just on the western side or whatever, but even the island, you know, people from the islands, their mentality is very, very different. Like who cares? They have a tendency to be promiscuous anyway. Do you know what I mean? When Sam was talking about having, you know, the mother and father in the home and they came from a Christian home, I never saw that. You know what I mean? Coming up, I remember my parents divorcing when I was 12. And then there was also abuse. Do you know what I mean? Like physical abuse between them. You know, they would fight. And so I didn't see that stability. So, and you know, when you see people who are having multiple relationships and something like that, to me, it was a norm. It was different for him because he didn't see that. But for me, it's like, yeah, and so what? You know what I mean? Like, what's the big deal? So when you're saying, what did your parents say about it? Whatever. You know, that's life. And wow. Again, like he came from a more of a churchy background. So I came from the streets. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, you know. And when I say I came from the streets, like my upbringing was really, really different. The environment that I lived in, I mean, I was told by a counselor when I went to school that if I became a product of my environment, I would either be doing drugs or be a prostitute. Do you know what I mean? So we were hard coming up. You know, we did things that he probably wouldn't even think about doing just to live. But yeah, it was different. It was really different. Wow. And then some of the things that I experienced even as I was coming up, when I was dating him, you know, just before I really started dating him, you know, I was sexually abused by a trusted, I would say family member at the time, but nobody ever knew that. You know what I mean? He was the only person that I ever shared that with when I was 15 years old. So yeah, my experiences were really different. So the life that I lived, was like, who cared whether he was upset by it or how he was dealing with it, or my parents, like I was 18 years old. You know, like, what are they going to say? I was 20 when we married. It was like 21, 5 years later, what? We're 26. So who cares? That's your life. Like, get on with it. Okay, next.
Wow. Just like that. So what about for you, Samuel, like your parents and their thoughts on it?
If I can remember, I put out my heart to them, and I can just remember just moving back in with mom and dad. It told me, I remember my dad telling me, stop crying like a baby. Stop it. Stop it. But
Wow.
it hurt. It hurt.
Oh, baby.
It hurt. Yeah, it really hurt. But
Wow. So like him saying that, you know, stop crying like a baby, like, I mean, you should be allowed to grieve what just happened, because like, did that, when he said that to you, did that make you feel a type of way at all? Like,
well, yeah, it hurt. But you gotta remember, dad never experienced anything like that because he and my mom been together all these years. So you never know how people feel until you're in that position.
that's true.
And for instance, let me get a little, when my mom passed away, I came here one day and found my dad sitting on the steps crying. And because all those years, you know, that I was hurting about what he had said, I walked right by him. I knew why he was upset, and I walked right by him.
Oh,
Yeah.
did he say anything to you? Did he ever say anything to you when that happened? Like, you saw me crying, but you didn't do anything.
Yeah, I told him why. I told him why.
Are you now more open in terms of like how you feel now? Like in terms of it's okay to feel what you feel with, you know, your dad and people around you? Because sometimes it's like you're as a man, as Black man, you're kind of often told like, suck it up, like, why are you crying? You don't need to be crying. Like, you don't cry. Like, men don't cry, so you shouldn't. You need to kind of like man up. Did that that change over the years?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've told my dad. I said, you know, remember that time you was crying, and
It's like, yes.
until you're in that position, you shouldn't talk to people like that, you know.
Yeah, definitely.